Hey guys, Josh Lloyd here, ready for another What to Watch for Saturday's games. The day after Christmas, there's 10 games on in the NBA. So let's take a look at what I'm looking at before these games start off. And the first one we look at is the Hawks and the Grizzlies. Clint CAPELA is doubtful. The Italian cock Danilo Gallinari is also doubtful.
Hands off my cock!
Rajon Rondo is out. So what are the Hawks going to do here? Are they going to go back to Cam Reddish starting? I think that part of the reason that Reddish started over Bogdanovic last game is so they could use Bogdanovic as a backup point guard. And I think that's going to have to be the same here. But now they need a new power forward. They're going to have John Collins at center most likely. Or do they throw Bruno Fernando at center, Collins at the 4? I think what we might see is Kevin Huerter move back into the starting lineup next to Cam Reddish, next to DeAndre Hunter as the 2-3-4, with Bogdanovic getting a lot of minutes off the bench, Collins at the 5, Fernando backing him up. But otherwise, this team, it's in real trouble in terms of the players who are available. And I want to see how they run this, but expect some bigger performances or bigger minutes for guys like Reddish, for Huerter, for Hunter, for Bogdanovic as well. Solomon Hill's going to be in the mix there too, so a lot to look at. For the Grizzlies, I just want to see Ja Morant. He was awesome against the Spurs. Can he do that again? And I want to see how they run Brandon Clarke. He wasn't very good in the opener. I'm still holding him in leagues, but as you know, I was a little bit lower on him than a lot of other fantasy people were this last season. So I'm not as attached. I also want to see a little bit more from Kyle Anderson. And let's see if Dylan Brooks can continue his level of smart shot selection, which has been a surprise to be sure.
A surprise, to be sure, but a welcome one.
The next game is the Thunder and the Hornets. Well, I want to see the Thunder. I want to see them play for the first time. Will George Hill start? Probably. Teo Maledon's off the injury report, so he should be ready to go. I want to see Shai's passing, and I want to see Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's usage. How is that going to all tie in? I want to see if Pokusevski is in the rotation for the Thunder. I assume he will be. How Al Horford looks. I just want to see this Thunder team play after their first game was postponed. For the Hornets, LaMelo Ball barely played in Game 1. How much is he going to play? That's going to be a key focus of mine. Of course, that ties into Terry Rozier and Devontae Graham. Who loses out there? Will Rozier hit 65% of his threes again? Of course he won't, but let's see how he goes. And there's no Cody Zeller. So what are they going to do? Are they going to start Bismack Biyombo? I believe they will. But does he get 30 minutes? Do we get a lot more PJ Washington at center? So that means more minutes for Miles Bridges and Jalen McDaniels. Do we get Vernon Carey into the rotation? Does Nick Richards play over Vernon Carey? So how that center rotation impacts everything here for this Hornets team is going to be key for us to check out. The Cavs and the Pistons. Darius Garland was awesome in Game 1. Can he do it again? Kevin Porter's out again for Cleveland. Now, we don't know at this point if Kevin Love is going to play. That could affect a few things, but let's watch Garland to see how successful he can be. And, of course, Larry Nance's minutes, with or without Kevin Love. He was great in the first game without Love. Let's see how much they play him if Love is, in fact, ready to go. For the Pistons, I want to see what's going on in the backcourt because Dwayne Casey, your mate, he prioritized Derrick Rose and Josh Jackson over Delon Wright and Killian Hayes. How is that minute split going to go? Is Josh Jackson going to get high 20s in minutes and you maybe push himself into at least 14-team discussion? If that happens again, then you're looking at Hayes and Wright being a little bit more drop-type guys. And this is a weird season because it is so compressed that the same level of latitude we have for guys probably isn't going to be available for us because everything's compressed in and we have to make decisions a lot faster than we would have in the past. The Magic and the Wizards, there is no James Ennis again, so Dwayne Bacon will start. Let's see if he can keep his mantle as the worst player in the NBA. He started in the last game and was absolutely terrible. He's only a DFS flyer type guy. And then Cole Anthony, I want to see how he looks. He was a little rattled early on in his first game, but came through strong. How much does he play alongside Markelle Fultz? For the Wizards, BERTANS. He had a minutes restriction last game. How much is that restriction going to be? How's he going to look? And I want to see Thomas Bryant, who was limited by foul trouble against the Sixers. If he isn't in foul trouble, how much is Scott Brooks actually going to play him? That's going to be a key piece of what I want to see from the Wizards. The Sixers and the Knicks. Shake Milton, will he play more than Danny Green, as he did in Game 1? Will he do anything outside of score and hit threes? That's key to his fantasy value. He's probably worth a 12-team league at this point. And I want to see if Tyrese Maxey gets those minutes again over Matisse Thybulle. At some point, Thybulle is going to get into the rotation, but can Maxey establish himself ahead of Thybulle at this point? For the Knicks, it's all going to come down to Alec Burks for me. Off the bench, starting, I don't really care, but we know that Emmanuel Quickley is doubtful. We know that the Jedi, Obi Toppin,
I don't want to hear any more about Obi-Wan.
he's doubtful. So we're going to have some rotational differences. How much is Burks going to play? I want to really monitor that. And how much is Alfred Payton going to play without Emmanuel quickly? That could be interesting to watch there. And what's going to happen at centre? Mitchie Robinson, how much is he going to get?
And Mitch Robinson says, I'll take it from here.
And with the low minutes for Nerlens Noel purely because of foul trouble, will we? Well, obviously we can't see any more of those Randall top and front courts. So how much does Noel play? I want to really keep an eye on that Tom Thibodeau rotation. For the Pacers and the Bulls, TJ Warren was really poor against the Knicks as he's dealing with that plantar fasciitis and his minutes were way down. Let's check out how much he plays against the Bulls, and let's see if Victor Oladipo can keep his efficiency going. For the Bulls, is Wendell Carter good? I don't know, man. I feel like he's been broken, like absolutely broken. He started off his NBA career really good, and the lack of confidence in his shot, in his passing, which two dickhead coaches really drilled out of him, is disappointing to see, and he just doesn't look good. I really want to see what is going to happen with him and how is the backup guard rotation going to look. Tomas Satoransky, Garrett Temple, Ryan Archer-Jacquino, Adam Makoka. Who is going to get the bulk of those minutes there? It was Makoka because those other guys were returning from COVID issues. Archer-Jacquino played a bit as well. Will they get into that rotation? And let's hope we get a little bit more of a little bit better Kobe White in this one. The Raptors and the Spurs. The Raptors played just an absolute ton of minutes to their starters. Lowry, Van Vliet, Anunoby, Siakam. Will Nick Nurse continue with that foolish idea? He doesn't trust his bench rotation at all, so let's see how that goes. And also the wiki Chris Boucher, who was super productive, but limited minutes. And I think that's going to be a common theme for Nurse and for Boucher this season. So let's keep an eye on his playing time. For the Spurs, Keldon Johnson, 33 minutes. First game back with no preseason. That is a massive sign of how much Popovich likes him. I am all in on him as a 12-team league guy, and I want to see what happens to LaMarcus Aldridge because his minutes were down against Memphis. Will they keep them low again? He hasn't looked great in the preseason and in the first game of the regular season, so I want to see how LaMarcus Aldridge is looking out there. The Wolves and the Jazz. Rubio started because D'Angelo Russell was late to shoot around, so in his proper rotation and backup role, how many minutes will Rubio actually play? And what does that mean for Malik Beasley and Anthony Edwards? And what is going to happen at power forward? Because Jake Layman and Juancho Hernan-Gomez, the only answer the only question that they're the answer to is who is the worst power forward combination in the NBA. They barely played last time. We got a lot of Okogie and Jarrett Culver playing at power forward. I'd like to see more of that, to be honest, but let's see if the Wolves do that. For the Jazz, Joe Ingles and Derek Favors in that bench unit together, they played really well. I want to see if that's going to improve Ingles' value. And always with Donovan Mitchell, it's about his free throw attempts. The Suns and the Kings. Disappointing start for Chris Paul. Can he get that figured out? And what are the Suns going to do at backup center? Frank Kaminsky is going to be available. Will he get it over Damian Jones? I would sure hope so. And then I'd assume Dario Saric just gets those minutes when he comes back. For the Kings, Hassan Whiteside. Whiteside barely played in the opener until Holmes and Bagley both fouled out, and then he got run in overtime and down the stretch. So if everyone's not in foul trouble, how much is Whiteside going to play? And then how much is Tyrese Haliburton going to play? The Kings didn't play Glenn Robinson at all in that game, 9-man rotation, so Haliburton's minutes went up. It also helped that we got Harrison Barnes playing at the 4 more, so that pushed Haliburton's minutes up. Let's keep an eye. If he gets 29 again, then he is probably a 12-team league ad. The last game of the day is the Rockets and the Blazers. Who plays? That's a really good question. Houston is at this point going to have enough players to play, but those players don't include John Wall. They don't include DeMarcus Cousins. It doesn't include Eric Gordon, Ben McLemore, Kenyon Martin, or Mason Jones, but Jim Harden will be playing. The Crucifix, Christian Wood, PJ Tucker. At this point, I'm projecting their starting lineup to be Harden, Sterling Brown, Daniel House, PJ Tucker, and Christian Wood. There's going to be big minutes coming for Wood, and big minutes coming for Harden, and massive usage for those guys. For the Blazers, Yusuf Nurkic, really limited. Didn't like what Stotts did against the Jazz. Let's see, can Nurk push back to 30? And I want to see how he manages the Gary Trent and Derek Jones Jr., the junior battle. Gary Trent Jr., Derek Jones Jr. battle. Who gets more minutes there? It should always be Trent. And how much Covington's going to play, because he really struggled in that opening game of the season. That'll do it for my what to watch for Saturday's games. Give it a like, give it a subscribe down below, hit the bell, and you'll never miss these shows. Leave a comment. Tell me what you think of these shows. Tell me what you're looking for on Saturday's games, guys. We are done here. Thanks for watching. See ya.